Welcome to Sports Talk with RJ. I'm Steve Risser along here with Justin Nafria. We got a busy show today. The Super Bowl is set. UConn got a big win over Providence. It looks like Giannis is going to be traded out of Milwaukee in the next week. But we got to start with probably one of the most ridiculous. I've been watching sports for over 30 years. Almost 30 years. And last night was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. As Bill Belichick, a coach who has won 6 Super Bowls, a coach that has won 8 Super Bowls, if you count his 2 Super Bowl rings, he won as defensive coordinator of the Giants, and is, in my opinion, is the greatest coach of all time, was left out of the Hall of Fame. He is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, could you say Brady was? Could you say Brady was more responsible? Of course, I think Brady was more responsible. Do you want to talk about the 2 scandals? Okay, talk about the 2 scandals. But that should not even come close to keeping this guy out of the Hall of Fame. It is absolutely ridiculous, absurd that he's not a Hall of Fame. I mean, look at his accomplishments. Look at what he did in the early part of that Patriots dynasty, holding the greatest show on turf to 3 points for 3.5 quarters. Then 2 years later, pulled Peyton Manning and Steve McNair, who were co-MVPs of the league, to 14 points apiece both times. I mean, just what he would do, he would take away what you did best pretty much every single game. Just how great he was as a head coach, and to see that he's not a first ballot Hall of Fame shows you the Hall of Fame needs to rethink their system. How are there 11 people that didn't vote Bill Belichick, did not vote Bill Belichick into the Hall of Fame? There's 11 people that actually didn't vote him into the Hall of Fame. That thought that he might not be they thought that he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. That is just absolutely absurd. Just I've never seen anything more absurd than what I saw last night. The greatest coach of all time is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. To me, that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I was stunned when I first saw it. I thought it was you never know, like an AI thing. You never know if something's fake or
Yeah.
real
Yep.
nowadays. You almost kind of think
Yep.
it's fake.
Yep.
But yeah, it sounded like Bill Polian was behind it, and I don't know if he's just jealous about his Colts and Bills teams that could never beat Bill Belichick in the big spots. I don't know. It sounded like I guess he may have had a thing to do with it, which is ridiculous. And yeah, the 2 scandals, like the Deflategate one was a giant witch hunt. Like Brady should have sued Goodell for that. That was so fake. That one was ridiculous. Like the Spygate thing, but the guy still won with the 12 Super Bowls, won 7 of them. I they went on the greatest 20-year dynasty run we've ever seen in the NFL. Like if he can't get into the first bat Hall of Famer as a head coach, then no other coach should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like it is absolutely ridiculous. I want to say Robert Kraft didn't have a say in this, but maybe Kraft kept him out too. I don't know, but it is insane that this guy is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it can't be either because he's dating a 23-year-old either. Like if that's another reason why
No,
too, like that's
exactly.
just
Yeah. That's
yeah,
absurd.
like I get it. Maybe it's you don't love that, but you still can't keep a guy out like that. Yeah, he's one of the greatest defensive minded guys. Yeah, you can talk about everything that went wrong after Brady, the way things ended in New England. But look at things before that. The things that he did with the Giants as a defense coordinator back, in the early '90s with Parcells. Like, where's Parcells? I haven't heard Parcells yet on this. Be nice to,
Yeah.
you
And you mentioned Parcells. You mentioned. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's just absolutely ridiculous that the guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Somebody should step up because this is like a Babe Ruth or Ken Griffey Jr. not getting in as a first ballot Hall of Famer for baseball.
Exactly, without question.
Yeah.
It's absurd. And you mentioned 2 things. You mentioned Parcells and Polian. I'll get to Parcells first. Parcells, how many playoff wins does Bill Parcells have without Bill Belichick on his staff? Zero. So and Belichick's got 3 times the amount of Super Bowl rings as Bill Parcells. So there's no question that Bill Belichick was definitely a better coach than Bill Parcells. And Bill Polian, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer as a GM, he has listen, he's a great GM. He was the architect of the Bills in the 90s that got the 4 straight Super Bowls, and he was the architect of the Colts in the 2000s. He's got 1 Super Bowl championship. He's got 1 championship. Belichick's got 6 as a head coach, 6 championships. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And Polian kept him out. That's a disgrace that Bill Polian tried to keep him out. So 11 people didn't vote for this guy. It's unfathomable. It's unfathomable that 11 people wouldn't vote for this guy. This guy should have been a lock this guy should have been a lock. I mean, there's really two other people in football that that should have been a lock like him. That's Tom Brady and that's Peyton Manning. I mean, he should have been a lock to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's absurd. It's crazy.
It is absolutely absurd that this guy doesn't get in. It was stunning to read the news that he did not get in, and it's look, in the NFL Hall of Fame definitely takes a hit. I think the NFL as a league looks bad about this, or like the process looks bad for the league that this happened because you can talk about the baseball one and the steroids, and I don't agree. Like, now that Beltran got on, all the steroid guys should get in because what Beltran did was even worse than what the steroid guys did. So, that's a different conversation. Like, it is so absurd that he did not get in. And yeah, like if I read it with Bill Pullen that had because somebody read I forgot who it was, but somebody kind of ratted him out. It sounded like to the press. It sounded like because I think because like how do you not like for the voters in that room, how do you not come to common sense of like we're gonna look like absolute clowns when this gets out that we did not get him in?
I know.
How's that not go through your mind?
I know. I mean, and they do now. They knew now. I mean, those 11 people, they should be done. They should be done getting any Hall of Fame vote. These 11 people, they should be done. Whoever they are, they should be done. I mean, this is the only thing that would be worse is not voting Tom Brady or Peyton Manning to the Hall of Fame. That was the only two guys. That'd be the only thing that would be worse. And Peyton Manning's already in the Hall of Fame, so that'd be the only thing that would be worse is not voting Tom Brady to the Hall of Fame. That'd be the only thing that wouldn't be worse. That would be worse than this. So yeah, this is. I mean, it's crazy. And yes, the scandals, we'll talk about the scandals. Do they play a part in it? Yes. But nothing has, this isn't the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yes, they have been consistent about the steroid guys. The Football Hall of Fame has not cared about that stuff. They've gotten him to the Hall of Fame. But now we're going to care about it because it's Bill Belichick and he wasn't the friendliest guy to the media. It's absurd.
It is. It's absurd. And go talk about the media. The media always get, and I get why the media gets bad when players don't talk after a loss after a big game. I'm fine with that, and they get mad. But now they're being not now. But where's the media today? Where's those 10 guys that 10, 11 people that didn't vote for Bill? Why aren't they speaking? They should be out forefront.
They should be. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical by the media. That they'll throw players on the bus for not speaking to them, but in a moment like this, the 10, 11 people that didn't vote for him have not spoken is ridiculous. So yeah, it's absurd, and yeah, maybe the scandals have something to do with it, but they really shouldn't because you mentioned it hasn't played a part before, so why is it playing a part now?
Yeah, it's crazy, and everybody. And the thing is you're never going to see a bigger snub, even close to this. This is the biggest snub for the Hall of Fame by far that I've ever seen in my lifetime, and nothing even comes close.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The NFL should even play the Hall of Fame game next year. They really should.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's such a disgrace. And this is all that's going to be brought up that weekend that that Bill Belichick should be sitting there, getting a gold jacket. Like, yeah. It's so ridiculous that guy didn't get in, and yeah, it's a bad look for the league. It really is a bad look for the league. It's a bad look for the Hall of Fame. It's just a bad look for the process. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, it's terrible. It's yeah, you said it. It's just absolutely terrible. It's terrible for the league. Now he's going to get in 2027 with Gronk. Him and Gronk are going to get in together in 2027. But the fact that he has to wait, no one's going to forget that.
No, nobody. No. They shouldn't. It's absolutely ridiculous, and yeah, it's going to be brought up to the end of time that that he somehow did not get in a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, yeah, he should get in next year. I think he will, but I think they'll learn their lesson. But yeah, there's no, that he should go in this year, and it's ridiculous that he's not. It's such a bad look for the league. So, yeah, definitely the biggest snub of all time. It's so absurd that he could not get in.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it definitely is the biggest snub of all time. But he will be the first person they talk about when they talk about the class of 2027, because there's no way that Bill Belichick doesn't get in 2027. There's no. The only chance of that happening is if he takes a coaching job, which I don't see him taking any of the two open coaching jobs. So there's no way he's not getting into the Hall of Fame in 2027. But going from Bill Belichick and now to his former team, on Sunday, his former team punched a ticket to the Super Bowl, beating the Broncos 10-7. And before we, recap the AFC Championship game, I gotta ask you, Justin, how does it feel as a Patriot fan to see your team going to the Super Bowl again? But I know it's been 7. I know it's been a little while. Yeah. It's been 7 years. But how does it feel to see the Pats, seeing where they've been, seeing where they were the last 2 years, winning a combined 8 games, and now in Mike Vrabel's first season, seeing them go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah. This has surpassed my wildest dreams of the expectations of this team this year. Said it last week. Like, I really did not think that they'd be in this position this year. So it's great to kind of see them back. We'll get to it. I'm probably one of the few Patriots fans to say they're very fortunate to win that football game. I think the Broncos are more deserving, of the football team to win that game. But hey, they won. The weather played their advantage. So that's great. And, there's another guy that should be sitting in the Hall of Fame that's not. Robert Kraft deserves a ton of credit. Look, we know the story back in 2018 that Kraft had, Mayo already penciled in as being the next guy to take over for Bill Belichick. And obviously last year did not go well. And Kraft could have sat there this year and kind of stuck it out with Mayo, hoped that he figured it out as a head coach, but he pulled the plug right away. And he went out and got Vrabel. And thank you to the Titans for getting rid of him. Thank you for Atlanta for hiring Raheem Morris over him. Thank you, because he fell right in our lap and he's done an unbelievable job. So Kraft deserves credit too for pulling the plug. And again, it's another ridiculous one that he's been to what, 12 Super Bowls now, and owned the team in the 90s.
11 Super Bowls. Yep.
11. Yeah, and all of them have come what? And he's gone to 15 AFC Championship games since the last time Jerry Jones has gotten to one.
And Jerry Jones is sitting in there. He's sitting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There's no way Bob Kraft. There's no way Bob Kraft shouldn't be sitting in the Hall of Fame. And I'm happy you brought up Bob Kraft, because let's go back to 2023. And yes, we praised Belichick for the first 10 minutes of the show. But here's where I'll criticize Belichick a little bit. Is Belichick really towards the end didn't do a good job as a general manager. He didn't do a good job as a general manager. And even I think he was losing a little bit as a head coach. And they had a 4-win season in 2023. And he could have just wrote it out and said, "Oh, Bill could just stay here forever." But no matter, and Bill accomplished a ton in New England. But he was embarrassed. Kraft was embarrassed by 4-13, and he fired Belichick. He pretty much said, "That's it. We're done. Belichick's gone." And he should have been fired as the general manager, because he did a poor job as a general manager. In the last pretty much 5-6 years being the GM, he did a poor job for the Patriots. So, and the roster was one of the worst in the league. So they fired Belichick after 2023, and that took a lot of balls to fire somebody like Bill Belichick. And then in 2020, but then they hired his replacement. That was Gerard Mayo. And what I liked about it is he admitted his mistake immediately. He knew immediately that this wasn't going to work out. He hires Vrabel, and look at what happened. So I'm happy you mentioned Kraft, because you got to give him a ton of credit for the Patriots getting to the Super Bowl.
You do. And I know the last couple of years, the Boston media have not, the fans haven't loved Kraft, and, for the way that Belichick things handled, the way, the documentary ended up with Belichick. It hasn't looked great for Kraft, but now that's all kind of forgotten about that. He's gotten them to, that he helped get them back to another Super Bowl of hiring Vrabel. So, yeah, Kraft's, Kraft's done an unbelievable job. I'm like, what? So he bought this team in 92, 93. They've been to 15 AFC Championship games in 32 years, 33 years, something like that. That's impressive, because this was one of the worst franchises when he took over in the sport. Yeah. I know Brady, Belichick have a huge part of that, but he's done a really good job of he's done a really good job as the owner. So he's another ridiculous one that, I can't believe that he still just is not in the Hall of Fame yet. No Hall of Fame yet either.
Oh, absolutely. Without question. He'd have to, I mean, but Kraft should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, especially what he's done for this Patriot team. But now we will get to the AFC Championship game. And I think the big story in this game was early. It was early in the game when the Broncos had a 4th and 1 and were deep in Patriots territory, and they didn't take the points. And really, the question is should have Sean Payton taken the points? Should have Sean Payton taken the points and went up 10-0? instead of going for it. And I'll start on this one, and I think he should have. I think he should have taken the points there. Go up 10-0 with a backup quarterback and Jared Stidham. It would have been huge for them to get to go up 2 scores, especially with the way their defense was playing. So I think he definitely should have. I think Sean Payton should have definitely taken the points early in the game.
Well, he should have. And when we were talking about the game, I said at the time, because I didn't know that the weather was that bad. I heard there was a chance second half it was going to start snowing and all that. Payton had to know the blizzard was coming. He had to know taking a 2-possession lead. Yeah,
huge.
Yeah, it would have been huge. And the fourth down play was awful too. The rollout, like that was such a bad fourth down play too. So yeah, he should have taken the point because the Pats were not really going to drive the field much at all. I know they got I know they drove the field like only really once that whole game. That was it. So yeah, he should have taken the point, taken 2-possession lead. I know he was talking about getting the 14-0 lead, but man, you're still up 2 possessions if you go up 10-0. Make that Patriot team drive the field on you that they really hadn't shown at that point that they could do.
Absolutely. Yeah, to me there's no way you shouldn't have. Yeah, make them drive down the field because the Patriots offense they really struggled in that especially in that game. So he should have definitely taken the points there and went up 2 scores. And then you mentioned the weather, and the next question is how much did the weather play a factor in the game? I think it played a big factor. I mean, 5 Broncos possessions in the second half. They got 1 first down. I know Jared Stidham was playing. They didn't have their starting quarterback, but they got 1 first down. And then the Patriots, I mean, even on their end, that third down play before they missed the field goal, they handed it off. They never hand the ball off in normal weather conditions. They would never hand the ball off on 3rd and 6 from Ramondre Stevenson. They did the same thing on another third down. They handed the ball off. So they handed the ball off twice on 3rd down. So I think the weather played a major factor in the game.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. It absolutely did play a huge factor in it. Both teams are very conservative. I know like the Patriots ran the one flea flicker to Mac Hollins, and that was really the only kind of throwing play. Like you really couldn't throw the football well. I know like the wind was a factor. It was coming down so hard too that it was gonna be hard to complete any passes. So yeah, the Patriots kind of those 3rd and 6, and even like the punting game for the Patriots was not great because Broncos the second to last possession got the ball at the Patriots 33, and they couldn't really do anything with it. So yeah, it even kind of there's 5 missed field goals I think in the game. So yeah, the special teams too, kind of on both sides, were affected too by the snow and the wind.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely were. Everything was affected by the win. But the Patriots came out with the win, 10-7. And we'll start with why the Patriots won and why the Broncos lost. And Justin, I'll start with you of why the Patriots won this game, why the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl, and why they beat the Broncos. So I'll start with you on why the Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 8 years.
Yeah, for me, the first one, they capitalized off of the big turnover there. That set them up inside the 10-yard line. Drake May, ran in a couple plays after that, but that big Jared Stidham kind of fumble there. I think it was a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, something like that. That was huge, and that's another like Gene Steratore. Get him out of the booth, please.
Oh my God, and this show does not get on the officials much at all. We're pro the officials. How do you not let that play go? That could have taken 7 points off the board. That play could have taken 7 points off the board. Just let the play go.
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. They didn't, and then Steratore agrees. Oh, that's not a fumble. And then they flip it. They change the call, and he's like, "Yeah, that's a fumble." It's like, what's the point of having Gene Steratore in there if he's always just going to agree with the official says? I don't get it. He drives me crazy. But yeah, that was one reason. My second one is the Patriots ran the ball with enough success. I know it was only less than three yards a carry, but they had that huge 3rd and 6 kind of bootleg there with Drake May that kind of finished the game off. Yeah, that was huge. That was a great call by McDaniels.
And let me tell you, Drake May's running ability in that game was underrated, especially on that 3rd down and the drive they got the field goal in. Because Denver, because they play a lot of man coverage, their backs are turned on 3rd down. So a lot of quarterbacks do get a lot of rushing yards on them. Drake May's running ability in that game was huge for the Patriots.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that. He absolutely was. He had a couple of huge carries in that game that helped kind of get them over the finish line there and win that football game. And my third one was, I know we talked about the second half and the snow, but the defense showed up yet again this week. I know they got to sit him a couple of times. They made him uncomfortable. They got off the field in that 4th and 1 there. The defense this postseason, I get it with Houston and, Stroud's been a mess and Herbert hasn't played well in the postseason. Now you want a backup quarterback. I get it, but the defense has showed up and the defense has played really good football the last few weeks. And yet again, it's a big reason why they're still playing and they're still hanging around here.
Yeah, and my first one is with you, forcing turnovers. That turnover right before the first half, with 2.5 minutes to go, then forcing that huge turnover and then getting 7 points. That was humongous because Denver had even after they didn't kick the field goal, they had all the momentum in the game. They were winning. They were up 7-0, and then Stidham turned the ball over. That was a huge turnover. So that was, to me, that was a big reason why the Patriots won. Number two, they got pressure on them all day. They really did, especially in the interior. The Milton Williams, the Christian Barmores, they were able to get pressure, and then blitzing too, getting in there. Because on that third down play, Christian Ellis came on the blitz. They were able to blitz, and they've done a really good job, Zach Kerr, of getting pressure, not just rushing for, but getting to the quarterback. They realized, their pass rush was a little bit of a weakness of their defense, so they made the adjustment in the postseason of getting pressure on the quarterback, sending other guys. They did that in that game, and they did a really good job. That was a big reason why they forced that huge turnover before the half, and obviously they forced that huge turnover at the end of the game with Christian Gonzalez. And then number three for me, May didn't turn the ball over. You want to criticize how Drake May, hasn't been as great as he was in the regular season, but you got to give him credit in a game like this for not turning the ball over. And the way, as we said, the big run he had to set up the field goal, and then the play he had to close out the game, and he did not turn the ball over. Jared Stidham turned it over twice. Drake May didn't turn it over at all. So you got to give Drake May. Yes, his numbers are not phenomenal, but you got to give credit for Drake May for not turning the ball over.
Yeah, absolutely. He did what he had to do. He managed the game, and that's sometimes all you want from your quarterback. Just manage the game. Don't be the reason we lose a football game. And he wasn't on Sunday, which was huge. So, yeah, absolutely. Drake made the plays that he has, and yeah, I know the numbers weren't eye-popping at all. And look, they played all three opponents that they've had to face in the postseason were top 5 defensively. So, they played through really good defensive teams. And look, I know it hasn't totally been out, especially Sunday wasn't outstanding, but hey, he did enough. And sometimes that's all you need to do in a game like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the weather conditions, a second-year player.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And listen, he hasn't been bad in the postseason games. I think, listen, he's not been, again, he hasn't put up the numbers he's put up in the regular season. He hasn't been terrible in the games. I think it was okay against the Chargers. People forget, too, he threw 3 touchdowns against the Texans. So, yeah. And then he didn't turn the ball over against the Broncos. So he's not been bad. He just hasn't been as good as he's been in the regular season, but he hasn't had to be because of how good the Patriots defense has played.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, and he hasn't been, and that's been huge. And Seattle will be a test in a couple of weeks for that, and the way Sam Darnold's been playing. But yeah, and look, it hasn't helped either that his offensive line I thought played a little bit better on Sunday. But against Texans and the Chargers, I know his offensive line really struggled, and I think that was kind of a part of why we've seen some little bit of his struggles the last couple of weeks. But yeah, so they did played a little bit better up front on Sunday, and yeah, he's. He, especially in the second half of that Charger game, the Texan game, was really when he came out. I thought played his best football, too.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll now get to why the Broncos lost this game. And the first one's obvious. Sean Payton didn't take the points before that in the first half. In that situation, I don't know, I'm very pro on 4th and 1 to go for it nowadays in the NFL. But this is the one time where I will say they should have taken the points. Because you're playing with a backup quarterback. You got 4th and 1. You can go up 10-0. Your defense was playing great. This was the situation where you should have taken the points. So I think Sean Payton definitely made a mistake not taking the points there. Number 2, Stidham, as we said as keys to the game last week, Stidham could not turn the ball over. He did twice. He had 2 huge turnovers in the game. He had a huge turnover with the fumble before the half, and he had a huge turnover when he threw that pick to Christian Gonzalez late in the game. So he had 2 huge turnovers in that game. So Stidham could not turn the ball over. And then number 3, special teams. They missed 2 big field goals. The Broncos missed the field goal after the Pats scored. Stidham actually got him down there. to kick a field goal. I know it was 54 yards, but Will Lutz missed that one. And then they had the kick block. So the special teams missed 2 field goals there. So for me, it was Peyton not taking the points early, the turnovers by Stidham, and the special teams missing 2. The special teams not getting it done, missing 2 field goals. Justin, why did the Broncos lose the AFC Championship game at home?
Yeah, the same for point as you here is Payne should have taken the points, go up 10-0. In that game, in that situation where you knew the weather was gonna get bad, go up by 2 possessions and put yourself in good spot there, and he didn't do it. So that was huge. I know I get it, 4th and 1 in the NFL now and even college football, but sometimes it's not a bad thing to take the points. And I think that, I think sometimes coaches are too aggressive nowadays, and that's a time where he should have been a little bit more conservative. My second one is also criticizing Sean Payton. He talked up such a big game last week that Jarrett Stidham was going to come out and air it out and throw for like 250, 300 against his Patriot defense. And that did not happen. And where was the creativity from him?
I know, yeah. And then, then he fires his offensive coordinator after the game, which is, I think, ridiculous because they got to the conference championship game and you fired Joe Lombardi, who's been with you for years.
Yeah, I didn't like that yesterday. So I see that one because it seems like every game this year, but Denver pulled out like a trick play or two. They didn't do that once on Sunday. They didn't pull anything out of the hat. So, I criticized Payton too with the game plan. And third one, I guess, also kind of criticized Payton. I said it. One of my keys last week is he cannot be stubborn this week and trying to run the football. Stidham threw the ball 31 times. You were never going to win that game. Stidham dropping back that many times this week, especially in that weather in that second half. Yeah. And Stidham had a couple of good throws in that game, but most of them he did not throw the ball well. And I thought he got too stubborn and got away from the running game a little bit too much. And again, I thought they had to run the football, run it effectively, stick with it. So, and they didn't really do that Sunday.
Yeah, Sean Payton was outcoached by Mike Vrabel. He was outcoached by Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel put the team in position to win. Didn't put the ball in harm's way in the fourth quarter. He did everything he could to put his team in position to win. Payton did stuff because of how arrogant he is. Going forward on 4th and 1 with a backup quarterback. No creativity. As you said, throwing the ball 31 times. And then after the game, of course he defends the play. I'm not saying Sean Payton didn't do a great job this year and he's not a top 5 coach. He is. But he was arrogant after the game. He defends. Of course, he defends his own call going forward on 4th and 1.
Of course he does. Of course he does. Of course. Then the coaches will never, they'll never regret it. They know they'll get eaten up by the media, and so not surprising. But and after such a big game, he talked up all week about Stidham, and he's gonna go out there tear it up, and to see that, he's an arrogant guy, and he got exposed on Sunday. So glad Vrabel was able to do it to him because. He did an awesome job this year, but he lost some points with me as a head coach because man, that was not a well coached game by him.
No, it wasn't. If he coached a better game, his team is probably going to the Super Bowl. So because his defense played a great game. His defense played a great game, but his ego got in the way, especially on that 4th and 1 call. So Pats go to the Super Bowl and they beat the Broncos. And so really great job by Mike Vrabel, and we'll be definitely talking about the Super Bowl next week. But now we'll move on to the team the Pats will play, and that is the Seahawks, who knocked off the Rams 31-27. Before we got into the game, there was another coaching mistake I thought that happened on Sunday with the Rams, because late in the third quarter, the Rams scored a touchdown after a horrendous penalty by Tariq Woolen. That was terrible. That cost his team 7 points there. Tariq Woolen with a terrible penalty there. But then the Rams score. Puka Nacua got the touchdown. Rams, cut the lead to 31-26. But instead of, going for 2 and cutting the lead to 3, they end up kicking the extra point. And then they only get the ball back once. They turn the ball over on downs. But if they made the 2-point conversion, went for 2 and made it, they would have tied the game there. So the question really is did Sean McVay make a mistake not going for 2 after the Rams' last touchdown? And I think he did. He absolutely did. He absolutely made a mistake. And what's wrong with the LA media for not even asking that question? That's terrible. That's a terrible job by the media by not asking him that question. You got to ask him that question why he didn't go for 2 there. That was a humongous play in that game, and he didn't go for 2. So a horrendous job by the LA media not asking that question there at the end of the game. I thought that was terrible because I think that Sean Payton should have. Sean McVay should have definitely went for 2 in that situation.
Oh, he absolutely should have, because even if you don't get it there, you're still down 5. You still need the touchdown. Like you're down 4 or 5 points, you still need the touchdown. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, so he absolutely should have. I was surprised in real time that he didn't go for the 2 point conversion, especially somebody with like him that's so creative offensively. He had to have a good 2-point play, you think, drawn up, ready to go for a situation like that late, when you needed it. So, especially in the NFC Championship game, you would think. And so, yeah, I was very surprised. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, I'm surprised the LA media uh, did not ask a thing about that. I was very surprised when I kind of heard the press conference that they did not ask him anything. So, I'm with you. I think they actually should have gone for it because there's no difference between being trailing by 4 or 5 points. They're just not. So,
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
yeah, 4 and 5, trailing by 4 or 5 is yeah, it doesn't really matter. But it's such a difference between trailing by 4 points and trailing by 3 points. Because if they trail by three, there they get the field goal, they tie the game. They tie the game, and they force Sam Darnold in a game where that's tied. And he played a phenomenal game. We'll get to him, but they force Sam Darnold in a game that is tied to drive down the field. Uh, Kicking that field goal did not kicking the extra point did nothing. It did nothing. So I think that was a big mistake by Sean McVay, and it should have been touchdown more because it wasn't touchdown enough. It was not touchdown enough. I know it wasn't the fourth quarter; it was early in the third, but it wasn't touchdown enough. So yeah, Sean Payton should definitely kick the extra point. But now looking at the Seahawks and Sam Darnold, I think you look at Sam Darnold's career. Yes, the Jets, it was a disaster. His 3 years with the Jets were a disaster. Then it was a disaster in Carolina. But then went to the 49ers to be a backup behind Brock Purdy. And then he went to Minnesota, had a great year last year. And now he's gone to Seattle, has had another great year. Is it time for us to stop doubting Sam Darnold? That's the question. And I think it is. It is. I think he's a good quarterback right now. All right. Is he as good as Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? No. Those two guys are great quarterbacks. But Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. It took him time to become a good quarterback. It took him more time than the average quarterback to become a good quarterback. But he was in two terrible organizations, the Panthers and the Jets. He couldn't overcome them. So, but these last 2 years, he's become a good quarterback. And then people question going to Seattle because they thought last year might be a fluke in Minnesota. It wasn't a fluke. He did it again. So to me, with the performance he had in the conference championship game, I don't think anybody could say Sam Darnold's not a good quarterback right now. I don't think anybody can.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I have to eat my own words with him. I've never been a huge Sam Darnold fan, but went out there last week, threw for 350 yards, just about. Corporate Rams secondary that hasn't been playing well, but I thought the Rams came after him quite a bit, and I thought he handled the pressure really well, and I thought he made some good throws under pressure. So, yeah, obviously the stuff with the Jets and Panthers didn't go well. Goes to kind of Shanahan, kind of gets rebuilt there, and goes to Minnesota, has an awesome year. And what are the Vikings thinking now? Like, you could have kept him, and after what you saw from JJ McCarthy this year, you could have kept him around. And I'm like, what? Sam Darnold's getting paid $100 million, and the next, it's like a 3-year deal for $100 million. That's pretty reasonable for a quarterback nowadays, especially one that can get you to Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now it feels like the true test of Sam Darnold, the team that gave him the most problems at the beginning of his career. Where he was quoted on Monday Night Football saying he's seeing ghosts. It's it's like the final boss now facing the Patriots.
Exactly. Yeah, it is weird. It is very weird to see that he is facing the. It's very, very weird to see that he is facing the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Yeah, because he went 0-4 against the Patriots, and the infamous "I see ghost" game in
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football in 2019. The emphasis I see ghost games there. So it is weird he's facing the Patriots. But I'm happy you mentioned the Vikings because let me tell you, stuff better work out in Minnesota next year with JJ McCarthy, or Kevin O'Connell and the GM are probably getting fired because this guy, you walked away from a guy that won you 14 games last year, and then this year you had some of the worst quarterback. You had outside Geno Smith, probably the worst quarterback play in the league. So yeah, Minnesota better get it right with JJ McCarthy or Kevin O'Connell and the GM are going to get fired next year. There's no question about that. But yeah, just a phenomenal year Sam Darnold has had. And we'll start with the Seahawks. Getting into the recapping the NFC Championship game. We'll start with the Seahawks and what they did to win this game. Why the Seahawks won this game. And number one for me, it's Sam Darnold. He was just amazing. He was outstanding. Sam Darnold was outstanding in the game. 7 for 13 on third down. Just whenever you thought, maybe he'll throw the pick here. He never did. He made all the key plays to win the game. He had 3 touchdown passes. He made all the key plays to win. Sam Darnold was outstanding. That's number one for me. Number two, Jackson Smith-Njigba, he was phenomenal. Had over 153 receiving yards. Had that huge reception before the half. Huge drive that Darnold engineered before the half to put the Seahawks ahead there. So he was phenomenal. And then number 3, the defense came up with a humongous stop in the fourth quarter. Came up with that huge stop. Yes, the defense Stafford had his way with the Seahawks defense, but they came up with that huge stop in the fourth quarter, and that's a big reason why they won the game. That and Darnold converting on third downs is a big reason why they're going to the Super Bowl. Justin, why did the Seahawks win this game and advance to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, for me, I pretty much have all 3 reasons you did as well. Sam Darnold was awesome. I thought he handled the pressure well. He made a couple of huge throws in that game, and he played outstanding. So, number 1, and actually, because I forgot to mention this a minute ago, we're talking Sam Darnold. I forgot who had it. I saw it Sunday night. Sam Darnold's, because I was actually kind of surprised when I saw it. Sam Darnold's, so USC's had 26 different starting quarterbacks drafted. Sam Darnold's the first one to ever, it's the first starting quarterback ever out of USC to start in a Super Bowl.
Wow, that's crazy.
I was shocked by that.
That's a good stat right there. That's a really good stat.
Yeah, I forgot who had that. I did see that Sunday night, but was surprised to see that with all the great quarterbacks they've turned out over the years. So Darnold was great. No, my second one was getting the fourth down stop late. The defense too. In the fourth quarter played well. They made stops when it happened. That defense has been unbelievable all year. Like the only team that's really had success against them all year was the Rams. Like pretty much I was able to really get to that team. They've been outstanding all year. And then my third one was as well with you, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I kind of mentioned last week, like the Rams have to slow him down. The Rams have to make somebody else beat him, and they didn't. He had 10 catches for over 150 yards. He was outstanding. Made a couple of huge plays in that one. And that was another reason why Seattle won the football game, because he's made such a huge leap, and they took a risk trading DK Metcalf away. But it's been all worthwhile because Smith-Njigba has stepped up in a huge way.
Oh, he absolutely has. Happy you mentioned that. And that was big because that was huge. Yeah, because when the Seahawks traded DK Metcalf away, we're like, what are they going to do at receiver? And Jackson, you're right. Jackson Smith-Njigba has made a huge leap. Right now, he's arguing outside of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. He's right there with them. He's the top 3 receiver right now. He led the league in receiving yards this year, and he had an awesome game in the conference championship game. Yeah, you said it. That when the Seahawks traded DK Metcalf, we didn't know who was going to replace him. And Jackson Smith-Njigba has not only replaced him, he's been better than him.
Yeah, he absolutely has. He's been one of the best wide receivers in sports this year, and he's still so young in his career that this guy's only get better. So Seattle's got a huge threat there at wide receiver for years to come, because he was outstanding this year, and he's helps Sam Darnold have a weapon that's that good that he could throw to every time that he needs a completion.
Absolutely, he got his Justin Jefferson in Seattle. We didn't think that was going to be the case. We didn't think he'd have a receiver as good as Justin Jefferson, but he's had a receiver close to as good as Justin Jefferson when he got to Seattle. So the Rams, they fell short of the Super Bowl, and we'll go over why they fell short of the Super Bowl. And I'll start and for me, I think the biggest thing is the biggest Achilles heel for the Rams all year has been their special teams. It started in Week 3 in Philadelphia when they had the blocked field goal. When they did make a field goal, the field goal got blocked at the end of the game, costing that was a big reason why they lost that game. Then the San Francisco game, they missed an extra point in that game, which if they didn't, when they were driving late in the game, they would have kicked a game-winning field goal. So they missed an extra point in the San Francisco game. Then you go to the first Ram game. They were up 2 touchdowns. Rashid Shaheed, punt return for a touchdown. And then this game, the dropped. They fumbled the punt, and the Seahawks scored the next play. So special teams have been an issue for the Rams all year. It was the biggest reason why they didn't make the Super Bowl, and it was the biggest reason why they didn't win this game. So to me, the special teams were hurt them again. It was their Achilles heel all year, and it was their Achilles heel in this game. Number 2, their defense could not get off the field. Their defense could not get off the field on third down. 7 for 13 on third down. Their secondary is another thing that's been kind of an issue all year. Has been their secondary, and that was an issue in that game. Is they could not get off the field on third down. The Rams couldn't get off the field. The Seahawks were 7 for 13 on third down. They could not get off the field. And then number 3 for me was McVay. McVay not going for 2 in that situation. McVay not going for 2 in that situation. I mean, that was big because, again, if he goes for 2 there, it's 31-20 instead of 30. If he goes for 2, it makes it 31-28 instead of 31-27. So my 3 were the special teams, which was the biggest one, clearly the biggest one, the special teams, not getting off the field on third down, because you saw a couple third downs where Cooper Kupp, their former teammate, made some plays, and then McVay not going for 2 there. So those are my 3. Justin, why do you think the Rams did that? How did the Rams lose it in your opinion?
Yeah, for me, number one was also your number one was the special teams. That you kind of went through it, and that's been Achilles heel for them all year, and it kind of bit them yet again. That's all the special team miscues that you kind of just went over. Were a huge reason why they lost that football game. My second one was also third down, but I went the other way. That the defense couldn't off the field. The offense was only 1 for 8 as well, and late in the game, I said it last week. Like, I'm kind of tired of McVay throwing the ball on 3rd and 1. What does he do? Throw the ball on 3rd and 1. You know, like,
and the guy dropped the touchdown pass.
yeah,
Arkansas dropped the touchdown.
yeah, they dropped. Yeah, they dropped it. Yeah, I forgot they did drop the touchdown pass on that play too. So that was another one. And you mentioned it. Their defense couldn't get the field either. They're 7 for 13. So third downs, they were not great as a whole. And number 3, the secondary let them down again. That was another problem for them, especially the last month or so. They gave up a couple of huge plays, and then obviously we both had it as one of our key reasons why Seattle won the game, which had Smith and Jibba. They couldn't stop them. The secondary had no answers for them, and that's another reason. That was another thing in this one too. Is their secondary just let them down again, and Sam Darnold tore them apart on Sunday night, and rightfully so. The secondary just let them down yet again.
And it definitely did. It absolutely did. It absolutely did. There's no question it did. It was their secondary and their special teams were probably the biggest reasons why they didn't win that game. Those are the biggest reasons. Now, the big storyline for the Rams after this game is Matthew Stafford's future. And if this is the last game he's going to play for the Rams, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to go out like this. He's still under contract for 1 more year. I don't think he goes out like this. I think he's back next year. I think he's back for 1 more run. I think he comes back for 1 more run next year to get another Super Bowl for the Rams. I think he comes back for one more run.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he comes back for 1 more. Because he played pretty well this year, and I know going into the season with that back injury, I was kind of worried that how he's gonna play with that injury. And he played pretty well this year. It's a huge reason why this team was back in the playoffs. So I'm with you. I know wasn't last year they were rumored McVay was going to kind of was thinking about moving on from him last offseason.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens again this offseason, but as long as McVay wants him back, I think he's back in the LA Rams uniform 1 more time.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think he's right there with Drake May. We'll see who gets the MVP next week, but he's right there with Drake May in terms of getting the MVP. Yeah, I don't see why he's not back. I can't see why he's not. I think there's a good chance Matthew Stafford will be playing next year. There's a good chance Matthew Stafford will be the quarterback for the Rams next year. So before we move on from the NFL, we'll talk about the coaching carousel, and there have been some coaching hires that have happened within the last week. And we'll start with the most recent one, and that was the Browns hiring Todd Monken. But really, more of the story here for us is the Browns hired Todd Monken as head coach. But really the storyline here for us is, what does this really do with the Giants? Because Todd Monken was he was the guy. He was the guy to follow John Harbaugh to New York. But now that he's got the Browns job, he won't be doing that. And we'll start with the Browns first. It's risky, and there's no real experience as head coach, so it's risky there. But for the Giants side, now they got to look for an offensive coordinator. I think they're going to be looking at 2 guys, either Davis Webb or T. Martin, to fill that position.
Okay, those 2 would be good ones for the Giants, and would be 2 good ones. I was kind of surprised that the Browns did it. I know they've been turned down by a couple other candidates, but I didn't think he did great this year with Baltimore. Like, we go back to the Patriot game where Derrick Henry's not on the field.
They didn't run the ball, yeah.
Yeah, I know a bunch of guys turned down that Browns job, and I don't know. I don't love the hire for Cleveland. I was a little surprised, but now I guess it sounds like Jim Schwartz is out too as a DC, that he's not going to come back.
Wow.
That's what it sounds. I did see it where Who is this by? It was a story I saw a little bit ago. Yeah, NFL Network reports that Schwartz told assistant coaches of the building this morning, when told that Monkey got the job, he plans to leave.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
um,
Okay, okay.
now I would assume that's a pretty attractive defensive coordinator job. I would think with all the defensive talent they have, but it would be nice to have a guy like Jim Schwartz manning your defense. But I didn't love the hire for Cleveland. I didn't love it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was. I thought, yeah, exactly. They pretty much, because so many guys denied them, they had to find someone, and it was really up to him or the guy from the Rams, Shearholz from the Rams. So I would take this guy over Shearholz from the Rams. It's more of an adult. Shearholz is 35, so I would take him over Shearholz, the guy from the Rams. But yeah, I don't love the hire, but we'll see what happens. You really don't know. You'll see what happens. It's kind of he has no head coaching experience, so we'll see what ends up happening for the Browns. But seeing the track record of the Browns organization, this is a
Mm.
hire that's probably not going to work out for them. But now moving on to another hire, and that's Joe Brady for the Bills. You know, Josh Allen has his hands all over this hire. You know he did, and it's another one. Listen, but if it became between him and Daboll, I'd choose Brady because you don't know. It's a guessing game. You know Daboll isn't a good head coach. So if it became between the two, you choose Brady. But still, this is a major, major, major guessing game for the Bills. If you're going to hire Sean McDermott, I wouldn't elevate the offensive coordinator because you've seen in a lot of places this has been disaster. It doesn't usually work. When you elevate a coordinator, it usually doesn't work out. As you saw with the Patriots last year, I saw it with the
Mhm.
Giants in 2016 with Ben McAdoo. It usually doesn't work out when you hire a coordinator to become the head coach.
No, it usually doesn't. I really like Joe Brady and have for a long time now. I don't think this was the right job for him. I think this is a tough task to come in here and like, hey, you got to elevate this thing, and it's Super Bowl or bust with Josh Allen. Um, yeah, it's a huge risk that the Bills are taking here. And look, because this was obviously the year to get there, and Allen's going to be 30, 31 by the time next season starts. So it's he's getting in there in his 30s. I know quarterbacks stay in there for a while, and maybe he's got another decade to go, but you are running out of time here. So I think we both said it last week. Like Flores would have been great, I think, for Buffalo, but obviously, yeah, Josh Allen has his hand on this one, and it goes to Joe Brady. So I like him. Maybe Joe Brady will end up getting a Super Bowl with the Buffalo, but it's a tough spot for Joe Brady.
Very tough because it's pretty much if you don't get you don't win a Super Bowl, your time there is a failure. Especially if you don't get to a Super Bowl, your time's there a failure. Seeing that you have Josh Allen and seeing that they're saying that Sean McDermott, who I thought had a really good, he wasn't a great coach, but he did a really good job. I don't think he did a great job with the Bills. He did a really good job with the Bills. He was in the playoffs almost every year, and that wasn't enough. So if you don't make a deep playoff runs, that's not enough. So that puts a lot of pressure on Joe Brady.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. Especially next year, you're gonna get a healthy Mahomes. We'll see what the Bengals do with Burrow. Obviously, the Patriots only gonna get better now. Broncos up, Bo Nick's back, and that Texas defense too. So it's a tough AFC, and this was the year to get there. And so yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be a tough fill up. And then let it, you still got Reed. I know you got Harbaugh in there, but out there in LA, that's pretty good. Vrabel with the Patriots. So like, there's some good coaches too in the FC that you're gonna have to get over. And it's gonna be a difficult task. We'll see if Brady's up for it, but it's a difficult task that he's gotta deal with now.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And finally, the Steelers. Mike McCarthy's coming home to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like this hire more than a lot of people do. I do like the Mike McCarthy hire more than a lot of people do because I think if I take him over Chris Shula or even Brian Flores, I take him over them. Yes, is he a great coach? No, but he's won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. He had success in Dallas. He had 3 straight 12-5 seasons, and you could argue they should have kept him because they didn't make the playoffs this year. So I do like the hire. Now he's going to have to Rodgers. The question really is Rodgers going to be back? And I don't think so. I think Rodgers retires, so he's going to have to find his guy. He's going to have to find his guy. It's probably going to be in maybe in the second or third round. Maybe a Carson Beck or a Ty Simpson. Find his guy. He can groom as the quarterback. Rodgers it wouldn't be bad to keep Rodgers for a year as like the bridge guy to their next to mentor their next guy even but yeah. So he's going to need to develop a quarterback, but I think he could have success there. Coaches have had a ton of success in Pittsburgh, and I think even though he's older than a lot of coaches when they started in Pittsburgh, I think he could have success there.
He could. I didn't love it though. Like you're a franchise that does a really good job finding young head coaches that are there for like 20 years. And like I get him McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. I get he had some success at Dallas, but like, does he really need the third shot? Like, you really we both said last week, like Flores would have been a perfect hire for Pittsburgh. He would have fit that city. I think he would have great job with that defense. I think he would have good a great job with the culture in there in that locker room. I don't know, like it just seems weird the Steelers are going. I know Flores would have been a retread too, but like it just feels weird you're going with a retread that's been a retread another time. Like just going with it's third job. I don't know. I didn't love it.
But I think he's a good coach. I really do. I think he's a good coach, and he's a better coach. He's done more than he's a better coach, I think, than Flores. He's definitely a better option than Chris Shula. He's a good option. He's a good option. He's a good coach. Dallas, I feel like made a mistake not extending him. I mean, he goes 12-5 3 years in a row. And then they had injuries one year and went 7-10, and this year they were significantly worse without him. So I think he's a good coach. I think he's going to have success. But now, is he going to have the consecutive winning seasons Tomlin had? We'll see. Probably not. But I think he'll be good there. I think he'll be the coach there for the next 4 or 5, at least the next 4 or 5 years.
The thing is, though, like what Steeler fans kind of got on top of him for it, I know it wasn't totally on him, is like every time they get to the playoffs, like, they've just lost. McCarthy, like, of late, did not have a ton of success in the playoffs. Like, they got embarrassed that Packer game a couple years ago. I know even they had to run with Rodgers once, but like I know they've gotten a couple NFC Championship games, but like with Rodgers, they should have won one Super Bowl with McCarthy. They really should have, and they never did. That's why, like, it's just like there's some Tomlin there. If the Seals really, kind of got on for the postseason stuff, I just, I don't think McCarthy's taking that next step. Maybe I'm wrong here, but like, again, I said it when Tomlin moved on. Like, I think it was more the GM too. Like, I don't think it was all Tomlin's fault. I do think like that roster was not great, and I thought Tomlin did a pretty good job there. So like, I don't love McCarthy in the playoffs. Like I just don't. I think he should have done more than Rodgers, and some of the Cowboys' efforts in the playoffs with him too weren't great. I thought either.
No, but still, he's a better option than Chris Shula. That's for sure. He's definitely a better option than Chris Shula, and I take him over Chris Shula. So I like the hire. I do like the hire. Is he going to win a Super Bowl? Who knows? But I do like the hire there for the Steelers. But we will move on, and we'll move on to UConn last night beating Providence. UConn beat Providence 81 to 87-81 last night. So, and listen, I know that they're 10-0 in the Cotton League, but really since the second half of the Seton Hall game, they almost gave that game away. The Georgetown game, they only won by 2 points against a bad team. Even the Villanova game, they were an 11-point favorite. I know Villanova's a tournament team. They were 11-point favorite. That game went to overtime. And then last night, Providence didn't have their best player, and they still gave up 81 points. They gave up 81 points. They missed 10 free throws. I don't feel like this team, they're 20-1, I get it, but I don't feel like they're where they need to be right now. I don't, honestly. Even at 20-1, I don't feel like they're where they need to be right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of nitpicking going on, and rightfully so. Because even after Saturday, that's what Georgetown, like, there's no need to nitpick, this team at 18-1. And last night he sounded a little bit more concerned about some of the issues. So I think he's starting to be a little concerned. It's almost, I think this team's like combination of like the 06 team and like some of the Calhoun mid-90s teams. Like that 06 team, it was like more chemistry wise, and like they didn't totally hit that gear that they should have with all the talent that they had. And like even those mid-90 teams of Calhoun, like they had a ton of talent, but like they were a tier below like the national championship teams of that era, I felt like. And I think that team's kind of in between those teams, Look, they played a great 30 minutes against Illinois. They played a great 30 minutes against Florida. They played maybe more than a great 30 against Florida. They played a really good 32-ish against BYU. So, like, I think it's in there. They just have to find it again. Their offensive efficiency now in KenPom is 40th in the country, which is not where we thought it would be. Solo hurt his wrist again. I think that's an issue. Mullins sounds like he's going to practice today, so maybe he goes Saturday. They never said if they said they were using a concussion protocol. I don't know if he ever got the concussion or if he's got the symptoms. I don't know. But yeah, the other thing is too with this team, and I guess with the player wise, Terrace Reed, he just makes freshman mistakes as a senior.
He had that big steal last night, though. I'll give him that.
He did. He played well at the end, but like he had one rebound for a while last night, and then first possession of the second half on defense, just absolutely hacks whoever it was. Like, dude, you cannot pick up your third foul there. You got to be smarter. Now, Eric Riva picked him up and was awesome, and Eric Riva deserves more minutes.
That was the story of the game, was Riva and Malachi Smith playing as well as they did.
Yeah, they were great. That's enough. Like, this offense flows better with Riva in there because Riva's a better passer, and I don't want to say he's a better understanding the offense, but like it just flows better with him in there. It feels like. So I think Riva deserves some more minutes, and Malachi was great. And Malachi, he has one speed, and it's only gear up and go, and he doesn't know how to gear down, which is a little bit of an issue. But that's another thing with this offense. They got it, and I text you this Saturday. They have to play more up tempo because this team is not like the team 2 years ago, where 3 seconds left in the shot clock, you guarantee that somebody was going to get a great shot. That's not this team. And I don't know why Hurley always wants to control it and just slow them down every time. Now, that would work against St. John's, where they want to go, and they're not great in the half court. So, like, against St. John's, go ahead and do this. But, like, start to play some more up tempo. Because, like, Jalen Stewart and Jaden Ross, like, you got guys who are very athletic who could be really deadly in transition. Start to do that a little bit more. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of my concern from last night. That's another thing too is, man, a lot of missed layups I felt like. And the other thing with Reed is too, everybody's gonna start hacking him because he's not a good throw shooter. Every time he gets in the paint, I just hack him. I just hack and shack him every time he touches the ball in the paint because he's really good at finishing around the rim most of the time. So I just hack it because he's 57% the line this year. So you got to win with Providence. I thought, should have beat them by more. I was hoping to get a right game, but it's just not.
Yeah, and you brought three things for me. You brought up tempo. Yeah, they got to play a little more up tempo. They definitely do. That's definitely something they got to do. You brought up Ball, the wrist injury. That's going to be a concern. He may have to sit a game because you can't have this being a lingering issue going into March. They need his 3-point shooting because Demere's not a good 3-point shooter. We know Terrence Reed can't shoot a 3 to save his life. So realistically, you only have 2 good 3-point shooters. If he can't shoot threes, it would be Alex Caravan, it would be Caravan, and it would be Mullins if he can't shoot threes. So I think he may have to sit a game because it looked like he had a good game last night. He had 17 points, but he only had 2 threes. So that wrist injury is definitely been a nagging injury for him, and he may have to sit a game. He may have to sit a game to get right because they need him right. They need him as that hitting threes come March. So they definitely need him right. And you brought up the free throw shooting with Terrace Reed. It's the free throw shooting with the whole team. 10 missed free throws last night. 10 missed free throws. They could have gotten 100 points last night. 10 missed free throws. That can't happen. There are just things with this team. You think they had a good. I think overall it was a good offensive performance, but then the defense giving up 81 points. And I know Providence is a good offensive team, but to a Providence team that didn't have their best player last night. So it seems like when one thing is going well, the other thing isn't going well. And it's should we be complaining about a 20-1 team? Probably not. But this just shows you how bad the Big East is that we're sitting here with UConn being 20-1, complaining about the team.
Yeah, it is, and it's because they've really gone by some of these games where they really shouldn't, and I think that's a testament to show how bad the league is that nobody's gotten them yet because they are not playing well. They have not played well.
Because I remember 3 years ago they had this stretch where they didn't play well. They lost 6 out of 8 games. It showed you how much better that league was 3 years ago than it is now. Because I feel like this is kind of, let's be honest, this is supposed to a mid-major league this year.
Yeah, they're clearly fifth. They're clearly behind the ACC.
Oh my God, much further, much more behind, way behind the ACC.
And that's not a great league either. That's not great either. That's not great. You mentioned the free throw shooting. They are 234 in the country at free throw shooting.
234
it's not worse
in
than
the country? That's
234.
terrible. That's
Is it
that's
70%?
that championship level basketball right there.
Yeah, that's not. I don't know if you've seen Syracuse shoot free throw this year, but they're second to last. You should watch them shoot free throw. Some of the forms they have they make UConn look great at the line.
Yeah, because
they're 65%.
Their coach is terrible. Their coach should be Adrian Autry.
Yeah.
He's still there, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know how much longer.
What a replacement that was for a legendary.
Yeah, none of these legends at these schools work. I don't know why teams still do it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. But,
we saw it with UConn. We saw it with Kevin Ollie.
Yeah, at least he got a national. He might be the best one. He got a national championship.
Which is a sad statement because he was not a good coach.
Yeah, he was not a good coach. Not after that national championship team. His things fell off the wagon quick. But yeah, so like with this team, look, talking about Ollie, we could be sitting there mediocre American team still. But we're 21. But so I try to look at that point of view that things could be a lot worse than they are right now. But hey, this is where we are right now. They have to fix some things, which I think they can, but they only got 10 games left here for the tournament start. So you got to figure it out now. And I hope they do. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you heard Hurley too. Call Kim Inglis a star as well in the coaching as a coach. He went on for like 3 minutes talking about Kim. I don't know if he's trying to anger the Providence fans because he loves doing that, or I don't know if he wants to keep him around because he's not great. But
I know. Yeah.
But yeah.
We'll see what happens with Kim English at Providence. But we got to preview the game against Creighton. And honestly, even with the way UConn's been playing, I think they get away with another one because Creighton's not any good. Creighton lost by 20 points last night. I think they win another one close. Even though this is a tough place to play, this is probably the worst Creighton team since before Doug McDermott played on them. That's what I think. I think this Creighton team is bad. So I think UConn wins another game, goes to 21-1.
Yeah, I think Creighton gets almost Saturday night.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the way the UConn's been playing. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Wouldn't surprise me.
And you mentioned this. You mentioned Creighton this year. I don't know if you remember. I know because it was 1 year, like it was a blip on the radar. But 2019, they were an NIT team. That's their worst team since. But yeah, other than that, they haven't really been this. McDermott's worst year at like Creighton after this would be like his first year when they went. They were still in the Missouri Valley. They finished 98th in KenPom. Right now they're 64, so this is their second worst team under him. I think this might be it for him too, from the writing on the wall right now. But they just didn't hit on a couple of their portal pieces. Like Owen Freeman was a really good player last year in Iowa. I know he's been hurt and he really hasn't played much at all. And Jack Nix, another Iowa guy, I think he was a 42% three-point shooter last year. This year he's like 30%. He hasn't played well. They just haven't hit on some of the portal guys. There's been some injuries. They're not good defensively. But the thing that, like, this is kind of a good matchup for UConn because they do a couple of things. They don't do a couple of things very well that UConn struggle with. They don't force turnovers. They're the bottom 15 in the country, and they don't go to the foul line, which UConn hacks a lot. So that's kind of a good matchup for UConn. But this is one of these games where every time they go to Creighton, it feels like they just shoot 55, 60% from three. And I think that's going to be the same thing that happens Saturday night. I think one of these games, they're going to get picked off. Maybe it'd be a good thing for the team to get another loss. I know you never want to lose, but maybe a loss would be a good wake-up call because, again, last night they're up by 9 and Providence comes right back with a 7-0 run late in the first half. And it's put them away.
That's where you got to put a team away there. And you're right about that. Maybe a loss to maybe losing at Creighton. Maybe they got St. John's next Friday. Losing
next Friday.
I don't think that could be that's a spot right there. They got St. John's, Villanova in about a month. So I think they're going to get picked off in one of those two, at least one of those three spots, maybe two of those three. And with the way they're playing, I wouldn't be shocked if it was all three of those spots. But I don't think Hurley it won't be all three, but it might. Yeah, it definitely might help this team to get picked off in one of those places because this team has got to get better. They got to get better if they're going to make a run in March. They're not going to be playing Big East teams in this tournament.
Yeah, they won't be. It's not a great league this year, and look, we've seen them step up in competition this year. When they played the BYU's, they played Arizona this year. They beat Kansas on the road. obviously they're a different team without Darren Peterson, but like I wouldn't want to see Kansas in a 4-5 game. I wouldn't want to see BYU in a 4-5 game. Have you seen the Bansa?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I I'm going maybe a little bit too overboard, but he's got some Kobe and Tracy McGrady in him combined. Like he's very good.
Yeah.
He's probably I think he's a little bit better than him and Boozer. You could pick it, or Peterson. Like all three of those guys, you're nitpicking for who's the best one out there. So it just even like an 8-9, like if St. Louis is an 8-9 game, I don't want to see them play them. That's a good offensive team who can guard. So yeah, they got to fix it because I know they played up to the competition at times. Maybe we'll see that next Friday night at the Garden against St. John's here. But yeah, they got to fix it soon because you remember. So that'd be 2019. Remember when Baylor got ran off the floor, I believe, in the second round against North Carolina? Like that Baylor team that was good, but like could never figure it out.
Very comparable. Very
totally
comparable.
See this team happen.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I agree 100% about that team is going to the national championship. That Baylor team. I completely see it with this UConn team. I completely see it with the way they're playing. I would not be surprised at all if this UConn team gets upset early in the tournament with the way they're playing right now. I could definitely see it. So UConn heading to Creighton. 20-1, they've won 16 in a row, but I think things got to get better for them if they are going to make a run in March. But we're going to wrap the show talking about Giannis. Last week, he injured his calf. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. And really the big question is his future with the Bucks. And looking at it right now, it looks like the Bucks are looking like they're going to move him. Looks like they're going to move him. And I think it's 3 or 4 spots to me. I think there's 3 spots. I think it's the Knicks. I think it's the Heat. I think it's the Warriors. The thing is do those teams have the assets to do it? Because if you're going to trade a player like Giannis, you better get a humongous package. And I'm a little concerned with the Knicks if they have the first round picks to do it. So do those teams have the assets to do it? I think the most likely destination is the Knicks because they're the closest to winning a championship. But the Knicks will have to give up, 3 or 4 first round picks, and they'll have to give. And I think two of their starters. I think they're going to have to give up Katz, and they're going to have to give up OG or Bridges if they're going to make this trade.
Yeah, they probably have to, and that seems like the destination that Giannis wants is, according to reports. And yeah, we'll see the Knicks to make it happen. Yeah, you probably have to trade Towns, which probably not the. I've never been a big Towns fan.
I wouldn't mind for Giannis. I wouldn't mind at all. For Giannis, I wouldn't mind at all.
You'd have to. Yeah, you have to, and to lose like an Anunoby. I know Bridges hasn't been great. Like that trade's really gonna hurt that you gave up 5 first rounders for him. But yeah, I think the Knicks are probably the most logical one. I wouldn't be shocked if the Heat. I hope the Warriors don't trade for him. I'm done with that team. They can go back to a rebuild now. I'm ready to see that happen.
You're tired of them winning all the time.
Yeah, I'm tired of seeing them winning. I'm tired of ready to see them be put back in our place in Sacramento. But good one for your Knicks last night. Very good one.
I know.
Very good one. Very good one. Got to stay in the hunt for AJ DeBansa in Sacramento.
You definitely want DeBansa. Yeah, with the way the Kings are right now, you definitely want DeBansa.
Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, I think he goes to the Knicks, and yeah, I think it'd be a great move. Especially there's just so much pressure on this Knicks team to have to get there, and especially Dawn 3 weeks ago was like championship or bust on the fan. I believe that was the first time he's done an interview, and I don't know how long. So so I think it's the Knicks. I think he'll end up in the Knicks. I think the Knicks are desperate enough to do it.
They got him. I think the Knicks got him. At this point, they got to take a swing because I still think the Knicks, how they're currently constructed, are good enough to beat. They're good enough to win the East, obviously, but are they good enough to beat? The big question is: are they good enough to beat Oklahoma City? Are they good enough to beat Denver? Are they good enough to even beat the Spurs? Those 3 teams. And I don't think I don't think the way they're constructed, they're good enough to beat the team that wins the West. I don't think they are. So I do think the Knicks have to make this move.
Yeah, absolutely. Because whoever comes out of the West, I know AKC is kind of having a little hiccups right now. The Spurs are unbelievable. The Nuggets are really good as well. So yeah, whoever comes out of the West is gonna be great, and even getting out of the East is gonna be difficult. Like if the rumors are right that Tatum might be back, the way they're playing. That's a team that has to be looking for revenge. The Pistons are really good this year. The Cavs are starting to figure it out a bit here. We'll see. I know they've had their playoff woes though, and the Magic have been overwhelming. So yeah, it's, even getting on the East could be a little bit difficult for the Knicks, but yeah, definitely whoever they were to do that, playing the West, whoever gets out of the West is going to be a major challenge.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge. And you brought it up. The Pistons and the Celtics, those teams are definitely looking for revenge because the Knicks beat them in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Those two great series too. So, those two could easily knock off the Knicks this year, and yeah, could be looking for some payback.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's going to wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week doing our Super Bowl preview, talking NBA trade deadline, and previewing UConn's big matchup at Madison Square Garden against St. John's. Have a great weekend, everyone.